Yo guys, it's your boy Dubraj Prasad, the Gunga Ghana man, and it's all about Sunday, the 22nd of June 2025. The place to be is at the Couva South Hall opposite the Couva Hospital. Come out in your numbers. A grand, classical, and chutney extravaganza hosted by the St. Andrews Street Youth, Sports and Cultural Group. Come out in your numbers. Tickets are just $100. This is a family event, a bumper event. You don't want to miss that. Najariya bai liye jai, liye jai, liye jai. Manati the cheer. Come out in your numbers. See you there.
So good evening, TNT family. Welcome back to Yellow Zip Code on UNC USA. Our brother here, Dubrush Pusad, has an event, and we just lending him the support there. Tonight, I have my friend here, Mr. Suman Singh. Mr. Suman Singh, welcome back to Yellow Zip Code on UNC USA. And thank you for taking that time to join me. Mr. Singh, we saw a very interesting press conference there this evening. Where we could see the fact that our government is hard at work, and there's a lot of things getting done. A lot of things were set into perspective, and I'd like to get a little take on your view on things there.
Well, good evening, Gary, and good evening to the viewing audience who are locked into the various social media platforms listening to us. We welcome you. Gary, is something that what is said today and last week as well is something which I definitely predicted, and we would have spoken about most of the things here. The fact is that the entire economy of Trinidad and Tobago is broken. All the ministries, all the systems are broken. The policies are broken. Not that they're not there, they're not followed. As you can see from the amount of contracts have expired, and yet rental agreements and lease agreements continue to be paid to friends and family of the PNM. So the system, as I said, is broken. You need to heal, redo all these ministries and agencies, as well as some of the state boards and state corporations. All have to be done from scratch. But how did we get there? Can you tell me how we got there, Gary?
Well, it's evident that what we was going to meet. I was sure that the fact that the day we took government, we was going to see a heap of corruption, and with the big mouth attorneys there, trying to create all the detractions and distractions. So we seeing contracts given out after the election, close to the election. I mean, this is, as far as I'm concerned, these are very high offense where somebody can be prosecuted, as far as I'm concerned, and should be prosecuted for the fact that they were using the money to buy the votes. And you see that using very strategically, to be done. And Barry broke it down. I'm hoping to get a clip by tomorrow night to share what Barry said today. But I cannot restream it here earlier today, but I want to get a clip on what he said actually, on that press conference today. Also, I saw Minister Serge broke down, the information in reference to that statement made by Maduro and his government, and there was no evidence to verify that,
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Is the callousness and the brazenness which the PNM operated under, no accountability, no financial statements, no audit reports, and it was a free-for-all frenzy. And this is exactly what has happened. Nobody asked questions, and it comes back to I think our first or second meeting after the election, when we always compared Where was the press in all of this?
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
was,
yeah.
where was civil society? Where was the law association? Where was the chamber of commerce, various commerces? Where was the university lecturers and professors who were touting this and that before? Where was their voices? This is the thing. So this, all these things combined, as well as by the high-handed approach by the PNM government, have resulted in this sorry state of our country. That's why I'm saying all these ministries and departments and agencies have to be re-engineered. And in that re-engineering process, you have to re-establish good governance. And you do so by implementing the policies. In addition, you need to have the right human resource capability to ensure that you can carry out and implement your plans. Remember, it's a new government, they have new strategies to dealing with things.
Well, that's the fact. The Prime Minister had to explain that to the reporters today. The government changed. It's obvious a political appointed position, and it's pretty obvious that you have to resign your position. Some people, typical PNM, typical hooligan behavior, think they can bully the Prime Minister and bully the UNC because it's supposed to be PNM country, and their godfather Eric William gave it to them.
Yes, so that's why we we have to expand our jail first. We have to expand the jail to accommodate a lot of people, a lot of heads, a lot of board of directors, a lot of accounting people, all those who are in charge of accounting, the head of accounting. How come they allowed all these things to get out of hand? Where were the approvals to rent buildings? Where were the leases? So you're telling me, hey Gary, you are a landlord and I want to come and take a rent from you, and you just give me a blank piece of paper and say, go ahead. No, no landlord, no name of landlord, no fixed amount of time. When is it the period of the lease going to end or start? Is it to be renewed? When is the renewal? All these legal questions are typical of any lease. So how come under the previous regime you had to cross all the T's and dot the I's? And here is it now. You have senior accounting officials in both state boards and ministries flouting all these regulations when they are supposed to be part of the public service.
Well, I mean that again, like I always said, we have a PNM justice system, we have a PNM dominated police force, PNM military. All the ministries were people that was hired by the PNM over the years. So I mean, we have a lot of cleanup to do. We
A
have a
lot.
lot of cleanup to do. Now here we see in the new WASA board is in place. Welcome Sally and Lindsay. Welcome everyone to UNC USA. Thank you for joining us. Go ahead, Mr. Singh.
Yes, and this there's a lot more to be unearthed from these previous boards because the decision making was so poor in some instances, and monies were spent, at free will for glamorous projects. Like in one case in Flip Deco, they were buying uh, tickets for Carnival Pet to help pay
Well, you have to pay for the
the bills.
election. For the election, right? They
Yeah,
use taxpayers' money, and I want to see these people prosecuted for you
this is
doing that because they have a long history of doing that. This time we caught them really good.
so. I know the lawyers are going to have a field day, but at the end, the people who suffer the most is the public. normal citizens, you and I, because you have to fork out so much money to pay the attorneys now for these
But
things.
just like
So
Barry referenced today, a lot of people didn't know where the next meal basically was coming from. And over the years we had a lot of people that we had to arrange hampers for. People didn't have food, and to see they what them were doing for the last 10 years, I want to see some of them jail and the money taken back.
that's exactly my point. I agree with you 100%. A lot of people, not some of them, a lot of these board members, a lot of these accounting officers who cannot account for the way the expenditure was, in good. In some cases, they have no bills, no backup statement, no invoices, and yet monies were spent. Is it their money or is it taxpayers' money? There's a rule for spending taxpayers' money. There's a protocol to be
It's my
observed.
great grandfather Eric William money. That's all they like to have.
You know. So I like to see a lot of them being prosecuted and jailed and their incomes, and so let them account for the incomes, because in fact they should be paying back the state. They should be paying back for foreign mismanagement. One should never see any sort of management positions in companies, especially public companies, that these are gross misbehavior in public office. And again, it's not only in the state boards and state corporate, it's in the ministries as well. So whoever is in charge of the ministries, accounting processes, the chain of command has to be investigated and prosecuted for negligence, misuse of state funds. No wonder we come to the situation. Let me say it differently, Gary. Before you can purchase an item. Let's say you have a tires for the ambulances, and you need to purchase the tires. That money, you have to get that approval first. That, hey, yes, there is money under the line item called tires. You will say how much money there is, how much money is the cost of the tires will be. Then and only then you do an invoice, because you have the money to pay for it when you get the tires, isn't it? So how come expenditure, whether it be tires or any other thing, for an entire year has been expended in the first 7 months or 8 months, as the case may be, for most ministries? How come the money is finished that was allocated and was normally they do it in a spreadsheet, like for the month of June, July, August, September, and starting from October last year. So it's like a monthly projection of your expenditure. But all of that was spent, the total sum of approvals for and the entire year was spent in the first 7 months, 8 months, as the case may be. And some, in the case of the Ministry of Health, is still owing $500 million above the allocation.
Hey, we have a lot of auditing to do with that Ministry of Health, especially in that COVID period, in how that money was handled. Welcome, Nadira.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. They has to expand the jail, please, and we start from there. If they can't account for the monies and for the bad decision making that was done under guys, and some of them on several state boards. So the problem is not only in one state board or one corporation. The same problem of inefficiency, bad decision making permeated in all these other agencies where that's
you know how we used to go, our relatives used to go and cut cane with a two-edged cutlass. We had to go there and cut out all the P&M tentacles, okay, before we can really manage things there.
Well, it's horrendous. That's why I said from the beginning, I was getting that impression, and from my experiences back home, every single damn ministry, you got to redo this whole thing. It's broken. The system is broken. I want to say the system. You just can't go and get something and the query and say, hey, can I get this? Can I get it? Doesn't happen. You want a passport? It doesn't happen. You go to the head office in licensing in county, they tell you go back to the one where you renewed your last license. And that is the head office. That was done on the premise that that is a centralized location. Whenever you have a problem, let's say in Port of Spain, Arima, Point Fort, and Sando, you go there and that problem is resolved. Now they're telling you to go back to your, whether it be Sando, Port of Spain, Point Fortin, Grandy, or wherever. Everything is broken. Don't talk for the health system. You can't get this, you can't get that. You go to just join the waiting lines, sometimes 2 days for a bed. No doctors, no medication. You can't get MRIs and so on done. No CAT scans. What the heck is going on? Yet, year in, year out, health, national security had the most funds allocated for it. And yet the services deteriorated to such an extent that, it was just throwing good money after bad. So let's see. I don't think we have enough auditors in the country. I don't think we have enough auditors in the Caribbean to.
Well,
Seriously,
we can certainly hire some people and train them, because I mean we need to
yeah,
train.
no, but this is not normal. These are forensic auditors.
Yeah.
So it's just not normal. Somebody coming out with the ACCA and do a couple of auditing courses or somebody train. No. It's not. It's forensic auditing. You're looking for things. You're looking for breaches, but protocols were not followed.
We have to follow the money because I showed him a lot of that money went outside the country.
Yeah, that's exactly where it is. We've got to also follow the bank accounts and see
I need
what is
to.
the lifestyle, what are the houses and so on, the accommodation, and see where they live and how they earn those monies. See what cars they drive, how many cars they drive, how many the family, and so on. So you can get a good clue to see how they can afford this or these extravagant lifestyles. All of the paper trail. So that's what I'm saying. This is going to be a long, drawn-out process. I hope there's sufficient legislation to incriminate the wrongdoers. As if that is not there, and you allow these persons to go get off, then we are in a sad state.
The people didn't vote for that. People voted for getting rid of the PNM, and that means from every aspect.
Yes,
Correct.
correct.
Every corner, every nook and cranny, they are voted to get rid of the PNM. So that's something that has to be done definitely.
Yeah,
So we see that they worked on, they discussed about the demerit points here.
Many new US
I didn't catch that part of it, but could you just brief me?
Yeah, I said they were talking about the demerit points, the stand your ground laws and
Yes. I saw those. The standard ground laws. They want to make that legislation a bit stronger. So there is some misconception or misinterpretation of that. So they want to review it and to make that stronger, the standard ground legislation. So
I
that's
mean,
good. That
just imagine, I mean, the ridiculous structure that we have when it comes to defending oneself. And people are kicking, just imagine people are kicking against that. And especially those who have the most protection are using their mouth the loudest to take away the rights of citizens to defend themselves. A man enters your house. So, in fact, it's not one man coming in your house this time,
your
It
team.
a few of them, 5, 6 of them will come in your house, and the prime minister gave the description. You want me to aim or to shoot them in the foot? You're thinking in that amount of trauma and fight that's going on in your house there. You think you can aim straight to shoot them in the foot? First of all, if somebody invade my house, he has no rights. He lost that house. If you invade my house to come and attack me and to rob and kill my family, from the time you invade my house, you lost all those rights, buddy.
That's right, my friend. Totally agreed. So they have no rights there. You can shoot them wherever you want. Empty the clip, as the PM said. So she said that they have to strengthen that that's one section of the law, because they were contending that under the existing law that it says you have to wait and hold back and then examine. It's like you being on the defensive right away. It doesn't give you a chance. So what they're saying that when this bit of legislation to make it stronger, once you're there within that framework of my home, then you can do what you wish to do. So that's the same thing as you were saying. So they wanted to make that little part of the standard ground law more clearer.
Well,
So
again,
I
the
guess
country saturated with heavily armed criminals. And look, I mean, every time you put on, like we were talking last time about people getting shot, and how urgently we need that emergency medical system going with the ambulance, and we need both paid and volunteered individuals. We had a lot of people showed interest, and the government just frustrated the purpose. The PNM frustrated the whole idea. So, I mean, we need this thing up and running as quick as possible, because we have people constantly getting shot in the country, people getting in accident, and our citizens are not trained and equipped to respond, and they have to wait for help, and the help is no help really coming, because we know the ambulance is not outfitted. We know that the people driving the ambulance and with the ambulance are not really fully trained to handle trauma. That's why you see so many people bleeding to death.
Yeah, but that is the health and the health aspect, which is that is the most broken of all. That everything is disjointed. It's supposed to be a coordinated effort to save lives, but everything is disjointed, and it all started from a little way before COVID. It blew up when COVID was there, because all deaths at that time was classified as COVID. That doesn't matter whether they died from a heart attack.
We know that too well, so that investigation has to be properly done too. And we have to deal with those who certify cause of death and it's inaccurate. We just can't allow doctors to certify a certain cause of death and it's not true. They're just gonna just run it off.
Yeah, but if
we are poor king cutters, and slaves, so they can just write it off. Now we are poor stupid people, so they just write it off anything, and they could say them as doctor, and we have no rights to say nothing.
Yeah, and the thing is that whether they were mandated or instructed to use, just say, well, that died from COVID, or were the doctors entitled to write the true cause of death? That is the
Man,
yeah, understand.
we got we got a major overhaul. You know that.
So that's another area. So that's when the system started to break down and go all haywire because in Sando there was all these CAT scan, MRIs, and so on machines, but
Yeah, I saw
after that,
Dr. Bodo is
Ramrik,
asking for an audit basically on equipment, right? What is not working, and to let him know.
and why wasn't it working? How many people got scans, and in what time frame, and so on? Because when you are sick or ill, and you have to do an MRI or CT scan, it's for a purpose, an urgent purpose as well. And when you get a 3 month or 6 month or 1 year waiting list or waiting time to come for your appointment, and when you reach and the day comes up and the machine is not working, by the next time around, God forbid, you're not there anymore.
So was this thing I see? This is kind of like a little bit Tobago related. They're looking for a suitable cargo vessel for inter-island, like for the sea bridge, basically.
Yeah, that for the
I saw
cargo,
that.
yes,
And,
because the previous one
and, it's
under
great.
the cargo side is under investigation.
And there's procurement for the scanners, and I understand according to Jolene John, it will take about at least 6 to 7 months.
6 to 7 months, yes, to come into play. But why were these things not procured?
I want this scanner, and I want the scanners on my on the perimeter of the country, because a lot of people saying they're still saying guns coming through the legal borders channel, but you in the meantime you have a pirogue could run across the border anytime.
Yes, it was open and free, man. Anybody come, you can
So
landing points.
increasing the number of vessels on patrol, increasing the manpower on patrol, both land and sea. Is something that we need to deploy. Get the military defense force out of the barracks and put them alongside the perimeter of the country and let them patrol.
Not land and sea, but air as well, Gary. When you eat it from the air, you see it from on top and with,
Yeah, well, I
with
see we have an air guard, but I don't know how more equipped and trained that air guard is to do anything. I really don't know.
they have to get in tune with the technology, man. The drones and so on. They have to get on with the technology because that was deliberate, in my opinion, that was deliberately left for us. So, the cartel can
You know,
function.
Also, the helicopters we had before we went out of government, I don't know what they did with it. I think they were trying to sell a few of them, so I don't know how much has remained. So those helicopters will have to be mobilized so that they can respond on distress call.
Well, it was deliberately done. That's what I'm saying. It was left open so that the cartel can function. And when I say cartel, the
Well, we
cartel of
know, we know,
control.
we know.
So that there was no sea, nothing in the sea, nothing in the land, and nothing in the air. So it was like free for all to these guys. So they had it their way. So this is a sad state. And I guess the more you delve into it and the more you're starting to audit these things, the more these things will blow up and the more, deficiencies you're going to find in the system. So it's like a never ending, it's like a never
Uh,
ending
Also, I
search.
see that we're going to be dealing with the Venezuelan immigration situation, where we're going to revise that process where they were granting, residency to those Venezuelan. We have to really reanalyze who is who there, and they intend to put more information with the application going forward, where there will be a renewal of the application for staying in the country. So I see that is going to be done, which is something good because according to the Minister of Defense, we really need to know more about those that are here in the country. And the Prime
Yeah.
Minister did say that if you're committing crime, I mean, you're going to be shipped out. Definitely. And I
One
mean,
time.
I in full support for anyone who wants to make a better life. But when you come to one's country, you have to conduct yourself respectfully, and you just can't come and commit crime there. You want a job or something different. You decide to use your time there to commit crime, and out you go.
Yeah, a lot of them came with, I have to think is a mix up of the population came. Not always bad, not always good. Most of them are in between, but some of the gang members came as well.
And we
And
also know that Chinese are involved,
yeah,
with some of
well,
these people,
they
and they are
linked up.
doing
Yeah,
inter-country drug trade. So we have a lot of work to do. A lot of work to do.
a lot of work to do. And I don't know
But,
if
but
they
securing the
cover.
border, first of all, securing the perimeter of the country is absolutely essential and something that has to be done right away. All the other investigation can take place, but we need more resources on the border.
Plenty more resources because if it just cannot continue to have the borders so porous
Now,
that
the other
anybody.
thing that we have been dealing with is the children and the school fights. So the prime minister is sending a clear message.
Yes, and
And laws and legislation will be put in place, and they will have to create a separate environment for those who cannot conduct themselves until they can, get to send them to some kind of rehab. You see, the thing about it is people conducting themselves in a way because they know they can get away with it, and there was nothing in place to stop them. Now there's going to be things in place to deal with them.
yes, but it all comes back to the society. Where was the church in all of this? Where were the parents? Where was civil
Well,
society? Where
if your
was
mother
it?
and father can't deal with you, which will get the first option, right? Then the government will have to, right?
Correct, correct. And when they come out with a so-called broken record from school, and you go to one of these centers, rehab centers, how can you get a job when you're competing against normal, students who have studied, go to the various universities, come out, and then you complaining, hey, I did what I had to do, I reformed myself, but I can't get the job.
I remember we were doing the last exams there, the CXC exam. I'm prepping and studying for it, and there would be students in the class throwing soda cans over your head while you sit
Yep,
down to study,
yep, yep, yep.
and nobody can tell them anything, do anything. I mean, I had a lot of confrontation with them because you could sit down in the class and study when the teacher leave you there.
Yep, that's normal practice, But some
And
of the children,
teachers leaving their classroom unsupervised. If something has to be dealt with.
well, once a period finishes, the teacher is not bounded but to stay in the classroom till the other teacher comes. Once the bell ring for a new subject to start, that course, that teacher should be waiting at the door to come in, so the children are not allowed to get into any sort of mischief. So you see, again, it comes down to the school system, private schools, secondary school, church schools, and yet they want to make the concordant and deliberately try to say, hey, you church schools should not operate, you should operate under the government system. You should take students, well, it doesn't matter what grade they get, just based on geographic location, you should assign it. And the church schools are against this, and for good reasons, I say, because this type of behavior doesn't cut it. That this type of behavior remain where they are or where they want to be. don't come and try to spoil the serious students who want to study, teachers who are motivated to teach, you know, trade schools who will have their own religious instructions and so on. Don't try to come and disrupt these things. I also
We've
saw,
seen where our Minister of the People and Social Development has spent the weekend dealing with issues, right?
yeah, especially
And,
as it pertains
and
to
look at it.
pensions for the elderly people, the
Look at it.
backlog.
Look at the backlog, right? She get that done in a weekend. So, I mean, what were they doing all the time? You see high class wickedness?
No, you don't know what they were doing all this time was to slow down the process so they wouldn't have to pay out the money. That is what they were doing. Let us problem be in who is coming in. So they have UNC has this fine money now for this 6,750 persons who are deliberately backlogged. Because if they could do so much in a weekend, and for 5 years or 10 years, you couldn't clear that or to bring it down to close to zero. It tells me that they were deliberately not approving these pension grants so that they can save their money and funnel this money into some other schemes which the PNM were involved in. Because if in one weekend you could do so much work, God forbid, man, it really shows the callousness in which the PNM run this country down to the ground. And it's in my opinion, it's going to take at least a couple of years to clean this mess up. Really clean this mess up.
Yeah, this is not an easy fix, but at least you know our people on the job. I'm very proud of the team I'm seeing there. I'm very proud of the results that they are bringing forward in a very short space of time. You know, and I mean, with the cleanup job, with the flood mitigation, with the, you know, with every possible things that that needed to be done, they
Yep.
on the job. Our team, our government, you know, is performing, you know, at extreme levels, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, and they are pretty razor thin now with all the responsibilities coming on more and more and more and more. That one wonders how thin they can spread themselves because as I said before, as you go delve into these things, more and more issues will come up, and you will discover more discrepancies which you did not bargain for in the first place.
You know, I used to see how Bandana used to be clashing with this government and batting for people for over the years, and I'm so happy to know that she got this position. She actually the minister in charge, and she is really, I mean, she's walking. She's not working. She walking.
You're working, yeah. Yeah, and she has always been like that, an aggressive person who really knows how to get the job done.
Yeah, but I've seen her carry this burden of the people, you know, on her shoulders, and it's nice to know that she finally got the authority to deal with it.
Yeah, she doesn't back down though. This is the thing. She stands up for what's right. And
You know, over the years,
again,
I reached out to her with people that needed help, and she was very effective, you know, with dealing with it. And she was one person I could have counted on who give me an effective response.
nice, nice, nice. We didn't hear not too much about the other um that other ministry.
We
But
see
we
here, we see here, you know, our minister of local government, you know, distributing, even though, you know, we are performing, she's finding time to meet the needs of those that is in need, you see, and this is what we are about. You know, we are about taking our people and helping pull them up, you know.
yes, uh, you know this thing that Yeah, I didn't see nothing much about the Ministry of Finance. Did you see any?
Oh no, I think the prime minister indicated that she didn't get the report she was waiting for, so that might be a little
Oh,
delayed, and that might mean there might be more problems there, which we very
okay.
well know that we expect to see and hear about. So I mean, they needed a little more time. So actually, but when they come, they're going to come with a full report. We know that fact.
And the other Ministry of Planning, nothing from there too, right?
Yeah, well, I know they're putting things together, so when they come forward, we will
All
definitely
right.
get. Yeah, I mean, based on the damages that they have work to do.
They have the most they have
Yeah.
the most work to do, because if you can't get a clear picture of how much money you have to spend, or how much money you have, or how much money you have to borrow.
Where the money gone that was spent,
That's right.
and how much people we owe.
But this is what I say. Health alone owes $500 million. What for? Why was
So,
it?
we are big here on the agricultural scene because we know how essential it is. And here is an event, I think, taking place cassava production and training and location in that Dade Street Community Center. I don't know where that is located actually, where Dade Street is. But there's a phone number
This
here for
is,
868-265-6099. You can see it on the message here.
I know they have a project like that in Tobago, the cassava flour project.
Yeah.
You can buy out in Scarborough in the little huts there. But I don't know in
I have
Trinidad.
another message here. Ministry of Sport is doing a symposium, trying to work with parents. So we're working in all aspects in the community to get things organized. I saw, let me find that information where uh, Teachers Education Association or something like that was in Tobago there. Let me look at that. You can go ahead, Mr. Singh.
And no, I saw it on teacher. The tutor representative wanted to regularize the contract teaching positions, if that is what you're looking for. In Tobago, a lot of teachers, have not had their tenure regularized because they are contract teachers, and it it comes back to the same old question. Once you're on a contract, you can you get paid as if you're a teacher, yes, but you don't have that security of tenure, which means if you want to buy a car, you want to buy a piece of land, you want to build a house, you cannot get a loan, because you know what, these banks, quite rightly so, they want to find out how you're going to pay back the loan. And this is the motto of Tobago, the greatest little island in the Caribbean, in the planet, they say. So
So this is what I saw happening out there. Let me look for the article 1 second. Yeah.
this is definitely in Tobago. So the teachers, regularization of the contract teachers, that is what I think you're referring to. That's a little branding they're trying to do that for Tobago, the greatest little island on the planet.
This is what was about here with the administrator. Um, there's human resources staff division, research technology had a fruitful meeting today with representatives from the Teaching Service Commission. Um,
Yes.
they,
It was about the regularization of the contract of teaching positions, or as far as appointments and transfers and what have you. Again, because of what I'm telling you, because of the contracts, they cannot, contractual positions, they cannot go to the bank to get a loan to do any sort of thing, because they don't have the security of tenure. even though some of them have been working for like
Oh,
8 and
because you
10,
have a contract job. Because you have a contract job, right?
and that's supposed to, normally it's renewable every 3 years or so. But once you say it says contract, the banks don't accept that as a part of their requirement. You have to have a 10-year deposition. So this is the thing. You're not guaranteed of your job the next semester. So suppose you take out a loan, what's going to happen when your contract ends? Or God forbid, you're no longer required to teach because of some decisions, or they, they found that if they find a 10-year teacher, your contract position is no longer there. So this is why they were talking about the regularization of these positions. And it not only happens in Tobago, it happens in Trinidad as well.
So here we've seen the High Commissioner of India meeting with the Prime Minister and, reassuring her that, of a full collaboration with both countries. And this is what we were looking at and talking about, in the fact that we needed certain help from India. Uh,
Yes.
and because of their level of expertise.
And
And,
not,
that is,
that is one reason, but the other main reason is that they use low cost technology to get the same results.
well,
And
that's I
this
said, they have certain level of expertise, so that's all include. They know how to use things that are rejected and turn it into something that is
that,
resourceful.
that's the point I'm trying to make. That with the situation we have in our country at this point in time, that should be a very welcomed initiative by the government of India, because we don't have the much foreign exchange at this point in time. So let's use and innovate, or purchase low technology items that can give you more or less the same output, which is the production of things. So that's a good. And not only India, there are other countries as well, Malaysia and
I mean,
Indonesia.
turning your garbage into fuel. I mean, India has how to say, they have mastered the technology and the capability of using rejected products, using garbage and make it into fuel.
Yes,
And they are very industrious. I mean, we always were very industrious people, and that industriousness has expanded so much in today's technological world. So we are,
yes,
that's one thing to have, that
especially
kind
in
of
the
support.
area of science and technology. Again, innovativeness, creativity, all these things, will play an important part in Trinidad because of the absence of foreign exchange. We don't just cannot afford
Well,
to.
that our country was designed for to make a certain grouping of people rich and to suffocate the rest, and that has changed now. And it's just a matter of time that our new government will restructure the way how things are done. So all that foreign exchange, especially, I mean, you see foreign exchange like 950,000 to a million something, was designated to bring an entertainer. In the meantime, people can't pay for their children overseas. You can't get buy medicine. You can't do all the necessary thing. Your small business suffering because you can't get forex to buy the necessary raw materials.
And
So
that
I mean,
these were small expenditures, like $15,000 and $22,000 to
yeah,
buy
yeah, small expenditure.
replacement
Well, but we,
machines,
we
which
haven't
was
seen the big one yet, and we're going to see it.
they are still awaiting that report,
Yeah.
or who got the foreign exchange, what it was used for, and how it was used, and so on. So that report still has to come. But what I'm saying, the stifling of the small and medium-sized businesses where they employ the 5 and 10 and 8 people and so on, that was strangled. The ripple effect of that is what crippled the economy. We no longer have a middle class at all. It's either you're poor or you're wealthy. That middle class is absolutely absent now. And is that middle class is what drives an economy. And when that is not there, from an economic standpoint, when that consumption pattern is not there, because these are the people who buy and sell things, middle class. They're the producers of small and medium-sized businesses, the creativity, the innovations, or a little manufacturing, the butlers, the processors. These are the people who drive the economy, especially, in the absence of oil and gas not being there. That became totally absent or decimated, man. So people suffered, and you couldn't get your forex to buy these replacement machinery. Let's say into woodworking and this sort of thing. You as a small investor couldn't get it, just couldn't get it, because the big boys, the cartel, control everything. From the time they see you are a competitor of theirs, the word gets out. No foreign exchange for him, no foreign exchange for her. They are our competitors. So let's starve them so that we can, get the whole 100%. And that is what went on.
Well, we're just getting started.
We might be starting for a while, a year or two, because
Yeah,
the
we have a lot of
best,
forensic work to do.
yeah, a
So,
lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Then one wonders, when are the ministers or the country itself going to see progress? And then these plans which the UNC laid out, how can they move forward when you have to just clean up, man, this broken train? It's a
I
long
mean, with
drawn.
the performance of the Ministry of Agriculture, the Minister of Works, and then local government, especially our champion sister out there, Khadija.
Yes,
She's on the go nonstop. So I mean, the country's already starting to see some action.
yeah. The sad thing is, this is the rainy season, and you don't do much planting in the rainy season. We don't have rice no longer as an industry in Trinidad. So what else do you plant in the rainy season? So again, you have to start preparing yourself for the dry
Well,
season
the level of flood mitigation they're doing, we're going to see a mass reduction in how,
going
what we
forward.
have
Yeah,
seen.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Short
we
to
got
medium term.
all
Yes,
this, all these devastation on farmers' crop. I mean, my heart breaks for those who work in the sun and rain for so many months, and then to have everything wiped out and not given any consideration. So, I mean, I know we're moving full speed ahead and in trying to kind of mitigate these issues. So hoping for the best.
yes, yeah. But the thing is that it takes there's a lead time. By the time you plant to harvest, and the season being what it is now, there's not much you could start to plant in the rainy season. So,
No,
as I
no, I'm
said,
just talking about the
yes,
mitigation part of things, the
I know
flood, dealing with
that's
the
important. At
prevention.
least when you do it this year, you know that next year you more or less safeguarded to a large extent from any sort
Yeah,
of
I'm hoping
serious
that we can
flooding.
safeguard much more farmers' products and hard work in this stage of the game. That because of the level of work that we have outputted there, that we can get that kind of
Yeah,
results.
and that is
So,
because of sheer negligence, and bad-minded and spite of the previous government.
well, I
Never,
mean,
never. Yeah.
what we need right now is for Khadija to get the necessary backhoes, the equipment, and the collaboration she needs. She knows what to do, so that is what I want to see her get.
She was in the community of Siparia yesterday, on where the Southland, so to speak, at Pinal Debe region, Cover and Siparia. So she is doing the whirlwind trip and looking at things and getting feedback from the people, the engineers and the various corporations and so on, and going on site visits so that, they get a first-hand view. You cannot be in your offices in Port of Spain and expect to know what's going on in the ground when you don't visit. And that's why the Prime Minister quite rightly said there's a big part of the country beyond the lighthouse. I'm I've never seen or heard any of these ministers, PNM ministers, visiting the Southland to any great extent to look at things.
But and the minister, former minister of local government, was in
Yes,
the south.
only,
Minister
only, only,
Faris,
only,
he was made local government minister to what? To
yeah,
stage a robbery.
yeah, but he is only there for election time. Then they saw him in the constituency. Never before, you know.
Minister of local government, and what did he do?
Yeah, again,
One, 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 one said a drama when you see went down there to cut a tree and making all this. But what, I mean, what delegation did you do? What funds did you allocate? What equipment? I mean, what did, look how Khadija is out there. Khadija is out there hands on, getting the job done with her team. And PNM and UNC all working alongside to get the job done in the borough corporation. Every man Jack is out there getting what they need, getting the job done.
So that brings me to the point. I said this before. Were they instructed from their higher ups not to lend a hand to what was going on in South? So if they're in floods, lead them in floods.
But even in the north, they didn't perform that well either.
Well, you will see that is their business, their corporation, they blah blah blah. But in the South, you could see that there was no effort. How come the same people, on both sides of the coin, PNM and UNC, are able to work and coordinate now?
Well, we know for a fact our people wasn't getting the resources in time. Our people
Right.
wasn't getting the funding in time. Our people, was so much discriminated against, that they were suffered to get the things that they needed.
And, and that is what I'm saying. It was deliberate. It was deliberate.
But the amazing thing is when you see God steps in
Yeah.
and capsize the wicked. This is what we seen here, This is what we seen here, Is God steps in and capsize the wicked.
Man, boy, it has hurt me when I see these things happening to beloved country. You've seen the wickedness portrayed against people, the inefficiencies, the skullduggery, the theft, the bad-mindedness, all these features, when they come together, can only spell disaster. And this is exactly what happened. And it brings you back to my fundamental point of the whole entire country of Trinidad and Tobago.
I could never forget the stress that they caused and the mockery and all what they did and the ridicule towards our people trying to represent our elected officials trying to represent our people out there. I mean, payback, buddy, payback. We time now.
It has never been this bad. I've known, since you're born, Trinidad and Tobago. It has never, never, never this bad. They may have had less money, yes, but the situation was much better. The quality of life, the crime was much less. The people was, hardworking. They didn't have much things. They survived, but not at the rate going on now with crime and medical care, the hospitals, the education system, the theft and robberies.
But knowing the fact that our country is so wealthy and the amount of money passed through our government and where it went, you know what I mean? There was no justification for people to be in the state at all.
This is what I'm saying. This is the worst I've seen the country at. And we ain't really see it yet. Because by the time they do all the audits. I don't want to say forensic audit, but most of the audits, when they do that, then you will see a whole new kind of worms opening every day, every other day. You will see new things, new facts, new figures coming into play. Okay, let me give you one little example. Caribbean Airlines. Oh, you've seen the big newspaper headline, make 140 million this year profit. Uh-huh. That is what is you've seen in the media published. But Caribbean Airlines did not file or do their auditing, no income, their audits for more than 10 years. They did not do their final accounts. You know, was their balance sheet like? What was this income statement like? What was the cash flow like? Now they say, I heard the Prime Minister say is something like $250 million in debt. And this has to be rolled over because no payments were made during this time. So how can you say you have your profit was 120 million in 1 year?
Well, the Minister of Finance, I'm sure, is sitting down with the Auditor General and all the stakeholders, and we will get to hear about it.
So they were lying then. They were lying all the time to say that we're making a profit, and when they're true, in fact, they were in a hole. Yet they were enjoying all the perks and nice
Well, if we
salaries.
made a profit, where the money gone? That is what we want to know. Is okay. So we made a profit. Where's the money? Where is the money? Show us the money.
The other thing I saw from the post cabinet briefing was remember I was telling you about the central bank governor. He's a law unto himself. You know, he did not allow the Auditor General to come and audit the department there. They're bounded by the Central Bank Act, so it's out of bounds for the Auditor General to go in there to do any sort of auditing. So that that again is a whole new kind of worms there, because who knows how they were performing or how they managed the economy. But by not the Auditor General not being able to go and examine the books, who knows what is the state on the condition of their accounting might be. What will be their balance sheet look like? What does the income statement look like? What does the cash flow look like? What is the debt of the country? What is there the correct figure?
Well, I mean, who can verify we were getting accurate information under Eric Williams for the last when he was there for the last 5 terms that he was there?
So it was all lies and spite and mismanagement. So everything cooked together that's what they call cooking the books. That's to make it look good. And then then the print media being what it is.
As
No
far as
one
I'm concerned, the amount of money that our country should have made, we don't see the delivery towards our people. Um, you know, in for that kind of money, we don't see the work that is done for that kind of money over the
yes,
years.
correct. All the non-developmental things remain. The hospital is still the same way.
I
The
mean, just
flooding,
imagine parts of the country you don't have proper roads, you don't have proper pavement, people don't have water and lights for a small country with billions of dollars in revenue. Come on, give me a break.
this is what nobody's was asking the questions, Gary. Nobody's asking the hard questions. In some cases, nobody was asking the simple questions. Like as I mentioned about the case of death, then it's not an easy question. That's a very simple question. How many people died from COVID? Did all these people dying here died out of COVID, or some died of heart attacks or diabetic complications or had a stroke? But when everything is classified as, shouldn't the press be asking those questions? to get the true picture of what's happening. How much money was spent on this loan? Why was the borrowing necessary? What is the purpose of the loan?
Government press, government press, government
Yeah,
press.
use the print media there to their convenience.
PNM press. But you know, one of the things I noticed about the media is how comfortable and relaxed they were with this prime minister and this administration in comparison to the previous.
Yeah, but you see, now they're asking the hard questions. And they are getting answers for the same hard questions, which they did not ask the previous regime for. So there is bias. There is bias. Why didn't you ask them, okay, come in the month of March, that $1.5 billion in loans? Huh? And you ever heard that in the press? That was only came to light after the election, or just before the election, by the Saddam Hussein.
I mean, even for the first year with the previous administration on 2015, 2016, almost in the 2016, you couldn't ask no questions. There
No,
was no answer.
yeah, but does did anybody know that the government took out loans to the tune of $1.5 billion in the latter part of March, 1 month before the election?
Yeah, I want to get Ken Ali here and Wade in that conversation.
That is a scandal by itself. Who knows where that money went? How many was given to friends and family? How many the slapshot projects and so on there, you know, into contractual arrangements with their financiers and supporters and what have you, friends and family. Come on, man. It's massive, massive schemes that went on there. And those are not a little bit of money. Show me what is it you used the money for. And it might be something like the property tax, they will say, oh, it went to the consolidated fund and they just cover it like that, and nothing, you don't hear nothing after. The green tax, the tax on gas, all these things were there for specific purposes to rebuild the roads, make sure the roads, so they're implementing the green tax and the gas tax to ensure that they take the same money, the taxes from that, and you fix the roads and you repair the roads, and But these things were not done. So the government has a habit of saying one thing, that you want to have a taxation system to do this and do that and do this and do that specifically, but then lump everything into the consolidated fund. So there's no tracking. And that is deliberately done also. So nobody can question that. When at the beginning you say,
You're playing according to PNM rules. What do you think it is? PNM court, PNM everything. That's how they have structured the entire thing. They rule the country for the majority of the independents, so they have everything in place. PNM Cosa Nostra, call it as it is.
Here when you pay your taxes, you get your service. I call for an ambulance, I get an ambulance here. Fire, got a fire engineer coming out, within 5 minutes, right? This is the way it is. So you see there, use regular garbage pickup, increase this, that, changing meters and so on in the water. So you see the results of your taxes then, so to speak. And the same was supposed to have happened with the property tax money. But now they take it and put it in the consolidated fund, and the regional corporations did not get the share of the money for their particular area of control. So where is it? Where is it sitting? Why didn't you give it to them so they can enhance and improve their area which is under their control? But no. So anything they say they're going to do, especially with respect to taxation, they never did it. Again, P&M style. Create the mess and somebody else has to come and clean it. They did it in 1986. They did it in 1995. They did it in 2010 and they did it now. So there is a pattern,
Yeah.
definite pattern if you go look at
Yeah,
the
we have to
data.
start jailing some people. That is all.
That
That's
is
all.
correct. That is correct. That's the question I said this evening. Start making the jail bigger or create new jails.
No, we have to have a special one for them.
Yeah. Yeah. It's quite a shame. I've never seen TNT at such a low level.
But speaking in reference to going back to the dealing with the school children situation, we definitely need uh, the police in the school. We need, not just to arrest the children. Eventually, when we get the funding, because right now we don't have it. We could look forward to putting that in place, but we have to look how to utilize whatever manpower we have right now to kind of deter, uh, and deal with the situation before we hire any more people. I guess more so it might be how we manage the TTPS at this stage, because how are we really utilizing the police force? You know,
Correct.
how are we really utilizing the manpower we have?
And
Before we look into hiring anybody, these are the things we have to look at.
and dealing with school children is a sensitive issue. You just cannot have no rough, tough policemen, dealing with kids. You have to know how to, from a psychological point of view, how to deal with kids. You know,
Yeah, yeah, that's something they would need. I said before, they would need training on doing that.
yes, you just have to handle kids with a fair degree of tact and understanding and behavioral influences and so on. So, with that in mind, I don't think we left out anything else coming out of today. It's just that I got the feeling that there's a lot of work to be done, and these boards and the new people coming into the system, they will have their work cut out for them.
Yeah,
Big
I
time.
saw a few people trying to caution the government on how they handle the boards, right? Nope. Well, when the PNM was kicking all people to the curb, you didn't see nobody raising their voice to caution them there, right?
That's a norm, They Rowley just said, "Hey, clean your desk by tomorrow," and that's it.
Yeah. Eric William Country, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Next day, clean your desk and leave. But again, it's the press you're talking about. They were all silent, man. Yep.
Press, law association, justice system, police
Religious,
force,
religious
commissioner of
organization.
police,
Yeah. All of them.
DP, what they call it, DPP,
The whole
yeah,
crew.
attorney general, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. The
Every
legal.
man jack let it slide because everybody in the same in
Eat
the
a
same
food.
club
Eat,
together.
eat a food situation, man. Yeah. Eat a food. Once we benefited, we stay quiet. Yeah, I had to deal with something at the front there.
All right, so we'll say good night. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We'll catch up tomorrow night. Let's see here.
Gary, I think tomorrow we should be back. We should get a clearer picture of what transpired today as well from the post cabinet briefing and so on.
Yeah, pretty much
Let's
we
see
should be able to get some idea.
some
Uh,
clarity on certain boards and what have you, because the Angostura board is all gone now, and Flip that board still is there. At least some members, there's some left.
Yeah, so well, let's see how it goes. And probably I get some clippings from the press conference today,
Sounds
so I
good.
can share. Uh, all right, so that I will say good night, everybody.
All
Thank you
right,
for
you
joining
take
us
care.
tonight. See you
Yeah, and
tomorrow night. Okay then.
have,
Good night.
have a safe evening. Thank you.
Trinidad and Tobago, central to any policy planning, there must be a framework, and a framework that makes sense. So when you're talking about sport and youth affairs, youth empowerment, youth development,
Yo guys, it's your boy Dubraj Prasad, the Gunga Ghana man, and it's all about Sunday the 22nd of June 2025. The place to be is at the Couva South Hall opposite the Couva Hospital. Come out in your numbers. A grand classical and chutney extravaganza hosted by the St. Andrews Street Youth Sports and Cultural Group. Come out in your numbers. Tickets are just $100. This is a family event, a bumper event. You don't want to miss that. Najari alo bhai liye jai, manati de cheer. Come out in your numbers. See you there.
Trinidad and Tobago, central to any policy planning, there must be a framework, and a framework that makes sense. So when you're talking about sport and youth affairs, youth empowerment, youth development, when you're talking about that, you have to make sure that you have the linkages. You have to make sure that you have those gaps filled. Okay, we all want and we know the interests of our citizenry of developing the youth through sport. Why? It mitigates against rising crime, low unemployment. It gives you a certain discipline structure, all of that to be model citizens. Yeah, but how do we establish those linkages? The first thing we must have is bring it down to the schools. In our policy vision, you'll see that we have a central part to play with the schools and with community. So first and foremost, you must have fields within the community that make sense. You know, we like to talk about we have a lot of stadia, but mostly that is for the high end, the high performance athletes, national programs, and that is good. Most of them built and maintained, lights put up by the UNC. Okay, now we are in a position now to really try and link, synergize youth and sport. So I'll give you an example. This behind me here is an example of what a community field in Trinidad and Tobago will mostly look like. Look at that. And you know, people say, well, you know, we are ahead. In every community we have lights and we have a field, but look at this field. What football, what technical level we can expect of our young players to get up from this field? All they could get here is hard tackle, ball bouncing up, and don't tell me we produce players from fields like this. We have. That is not because of fields like this, it's in spite of fields like this. So the vision must be to have fields across the communities where schools have access to those fields in order to increase the technical and participatory level in all communities with all schools. And I'm not talking only about football. Look at that. We're talking about all sports, because this field here, for example, if it was well maintained, we have cricket, we have football, we can have hockey. So the idea is to have fields according to the Belgian model or any first world country that advance their youth through sport, is to make these all-weather fields. Now we train this out in light of what is our framework to make sure that we have a policy vision with continuity. Because what we could do is come and fool people like Shampa Kajo and have one set of events, put one set of names on it, have it in Skinner Park, which is not a good field by the way, or have it in somewhere, some other field, in some stadium, at Tobolan, or wherever, and it's just an event. Everybody go home after, everybody feeling good, but there's no continuity. We intend to change that. The Minister of Sport is hands-on looking at all the facilities across the country, and we intend to bring it home in these years under Kamala Prasad Bisesa to really have a policy vision and policy implementation that gives us the guarantee and the assurance that for generations to come, our youth will be well served. Trinidad and Tobago, the General, loving the house all the time.